How's it going, guys, gals, lords, and ladies? This is Gaming Unsealed Zomar here, bringing you the next part of my playthrough of Dark Souls. When last we left, I had just made it to the top of Sif's Fortress, Sen's Fortress, I think it's Sen's. And I had just died to one of these firebombs here. I'm looking for a way to get through it, and there doesn't really seem to be a way that I can just kind of go through without dying. So I decided to explore a slightly different route going down here. I honestly have no idea where I'm going, so forgive me if I'm wasting some time. You know, I see this Balder Knight here, and I'm like, oh, there's probably something down here. They usually don't put enemies in areas where there aren't, you know, things to be found, things to be explored, so a little bit hopeful here. You know, nothing new. Balder Knight's a Balder Knight. Earlier in this playthrough, I had farmed up a large number of Balder Knights, so I know their fighting style. I know with their openings. It's just a little bit different because I had a faster weapon back then, so it was a slightly different strategy. Picking up Titanite shards at this point, I don't know if there's a way to, I don't know if there's a way the Titanite shards can count towards later things. I don't know if there's a way to combine them or something. What I found there is a ring, and I was curious. I was like, okay, well, what does this ring do? Flamestone plate ring. It boosts fire defense. And I was like, oh, I got firebombs landing on my head. Maybe it'll help me live for half a second longer to get past that explosion. So I use heal to get myself to, I believe it's close to full. I don't think it's quite full health. And hopefully, you know, that half a second or whatever turns out to be, you know, second half a second of extra survivability makes it so I can actually live and get past it. Because it seems like no matter what I do, that guy just drops a firebomb on my head no matter what, regardless of how my timing is. So this is me just trying to see if it's possible to lure him out into throwing the first one. Because I'm trying to see if it's possible to time between the two of them, because I can actually see him at this angle. I didn't realize this before. You can see him over there to the top left, and you know, I don't know what happened there. It seemed like the timing was a little bit longer than all the other ones have been. Pick up that soul there. I'm more concerned with just getting past all of these scorched areas, because it seems like that's where he's throwing the fireballs or the firebombs. Just trying not to have him throw another one on my head and, you know, die. But on top of that, it seemed like that fire ring actually greatly reduced the damage I take from these. So it almost seems like I can actually stand in that fire for more than just a second or half second or even a couple of seconds. So I'm going in here, you know, exploring my different routes. Look down this hallway, spot a Balder Knight. So I'm like, okay, you know, look at a few more souls. I tried to kick him there, but he actually dodged backwards. This is one of those, the Rapier Balder Knights, rather than a, one of the medium shield Balder Knights. He's got a tendency to be a little bit more squirrely, and, you know, he goes into a parrying stance. So he does tend to avoid, if you try to kick him, he does try to dodge backwards and whatnot. So just running over here, you know, trying to explore the area. At this point, I'm going, okay, it's been a long time since I've hit a bonfire. I'm seriously wondering where the nearest bonfire is. These are thoughts that are crossing my mind at this point. But, you know, I'm more interested in, you know, progressing, exploring the area. I see these, and I'm like, okay, I see open, and I see it's locked. Okay, so it must need a key. Obviously, the master key didn't work there. So it must be something else, something I gotta find. So I'm just gonna be on the lookout for something. Walking up these steps, trying to see if I spot any of those scorch marks where that guy up above is gonna throw down these things, and I see one, and I also see the archer there. So I'm waiting for him to throw the firebomb so I can run between two different firebombs, while at the same time trying to keep the shield out to block the archer. Unfortunately, I just get hit just a tiny little bit by that one, and for whatever reason, it seemed like that second one didn't hit me, even though it looked like it should have. Easy enough to right trigger on the sway hander that I have, the +10 sway hander, does kill that Balder Knight in one shot, so no complaints there for me. I'm running through some pots, checking to make sure there isn't any items near them. Run along here. My goal at this point is to try to kill that giant or golem or whatever he is at the top of this building that I'm now in. And you know, I get to this doorway, and cool enough, this guy comes right over to the doorway for me. Okay, I don't know if he's supposed to do this. I don't know if this was like the intended thing, but it seems like he can actually attack me through the wall. I don't know if it's just the shaking. And then he goes into like some sort of rampage. I don't really know what's going on at this point, but I noticed that there's this wide opening in his attack. So I might as well just go all out and just keep swinging. I don't know how long this you know, apparently tired state lasts. So I'm just taking the most I can out of it, and I can't actually see his health bar at this angle because he's so big that the health bar is actually off the screen, but he ends up dying. That's why I was being a little bit careful, is because I couldn't actually tell how more health he had. I wasn't sure if that was something like he was going to pop up any second, or if that was going to be like I had like another 30 seconds. Because of that, because I wasn't completely sure, I just made sure I was a little bit careful. So now with him out of the picture, I can run around on this level pretty much unhindered. I mean, it's just the standard enemies. I see this gate here, the fog gate, so I know that the boss is nearby, and at this point I'm really going, okay, if there's a boss nearby, I really cannot run through the entire Sin's Fortress just to get back up to the boss. If I die to the boss, I know that this game doesn't work like that. There's at least a bonfire somewhat nearby, so now I'm just exploring every little facet of this level. Because, I mean, this game is difficult, but it also understands that it is difficult. It wouldn't really do that to a person. Not to my knowledge, anyways. There's at least a bonfire somewhat close. There's probably some enemies that need to be killed if you were to die between you and the boss, but usually there's some sort of way to minimize the distance, at least, between the bonfire and the boss, to a certain extent. I didn't see this note on the way there. I like reading these notes and seeing what other people write, because you never know what's going to be useful. You never know what's going to be not useful. Some things are trolly. It's just fun to see what other people write. Up here, I believe, yeah, so what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to jump this gap. It does appear to be jumpable, like a distance I can clear. So I'm going to give it a shot. And, of course, you know, I don't time the actual leap right, and I roll off the edge. But interesting enough, I pick up a nice little crossbow. I don't actually typically take advantage of crossbows. It's interesting, but at this point, I haven't needed to do so. So I'm just trying to make my way back up at this point, trying to get back up to where I was. That's an area I do want to explore. You know, just getting used to little things about the area. Like I said, it's a brand new area. It's a new. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants when I go to each new area because I've never been in them before. I'm actually not looking up guides. I'm not looking up playthroughs. The only reason I would ever look up a playthrough or a guide is if I'm absolutely completely stuck, and it's not necessarily how to beat it. It's just where to go. I'm not looking up tips, I'm not looking up tricks, I'm doing this all on my own. But yeah, so that's one of those knights that earlier on was guarding one of those Firekeeper souls. So interesting enough, he's got a very wide opening because of the way his attack is. I was having a little bit of trouble getting the slide to actually work on that ladder. It seems like you have to be completely still when you hold the B button in order for it to actually work. Interesting enough is this guy looks very similar to the very first knight that you end up meeting. You know, he's wearing the same armor. He's actually wearing the same armor as I am currently. It looks like he's wearing the elite knight armor. But he's got a rapier, it looks like, and a bow. So apparently his name is Ricard, because that's just Reaper. So running up into here, exploring what he was guarding. And ever since that mimic down in the bottom of the fortress in the basement, I don't really trust chests. Not completely, anyways. Some of them I might just open, and you know, if I die, I die. But you know, like I said, it's been a very long time since I've been to a bonfire. So I would really like not to die right now, because I do not want to have to run all the way up through the entire fortress. It's just something that's not really ideal for me to do at this point. So I'm going to be returning back to where I was. It appeared that where I was a dead end. Getting to the top of the ladder, I run back a little bit, and at this point you're going to notice the camera glitches out just a little bit. What I edited out there was, like I said, you know, I'm not really looking up how to beat things, but at the same time, this is not something I would have found completely on my own. I would not have found this bonfire. I actually looked up and I was like, okay, seriously, where the hell is this bonfire? But what I do is I'll do a little bit of leveling up there. And I've got about 5,000 souls left at this point. I believe at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to run up to that broken part of the bridge is where I'm heading at this point, because I want to know what's over there. Even though I know where the bonfire is now, there's still one more area that I know of at this point that I haven't really explored. I believe I take a left here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I take a left. I actually managed to jump it this time and not roll down into the pit. And I'm just exploring what's in this tower. Notice this guy over here. Talk to him. He doesn't really say a whole lot. It looks like he's a merchant. So I'm just taking a look through the things that he sells. One of the things I noticed that he sells is a tower shield. I was curious. I wanted to get it just in case, you know. At this point, I hadn't really done the research to figure out what shield I really wanted to end up with, but I figured, hey, this is actually going to be something I possibly might want to get, and I don't know if I'm going to come back here right now. So, I have one of these soul things. What is it? I'm just going to buy that shield. Worst case scenario, I end up farming up souls to make up the souls that I just used for the tower shield if I don't end up using it. But yeah, I purchased this. I was just looking through some of the other things that I can get from him. I can get the steel set, the Balder set, the Katarina set. I can actually look like the Onion Knight if I really wanted to. But it doesn't really look like that has better stats than what I'm currently wearing, so I'm just going to stick with what I have. And then this is just me comparing, you know, the different shields. Taking a look at like the percent reduction, at the moment I'm looking at the stability. And then I ultimately decide to keep the green crest shield out because of the stamina regen. Not really because it's got better stats or anything like that, simply because of the buff it grants at this point. And I'm just like searching down here, looking to see if there's anything down here. These are quite long stairs, for there basically be nothing down here. So I decided that there's going to be something. I see this enemy down here. So I'm going to run over and kill him. You know, one of these snakes, simple enough, just do the right trigger. Slams him down on the ground, do a second one, and it kills him off. It's a pretty easy combo with this Wayhander for somebody who doesn't really have a high amount of poison enemy. Found the cage key and, you know, run all the way back up. I edited that out for you guys, you know, save a little bit of time. I figured I could cover a little bit more ground if I cut out running back to places, you know, repeat areas, things that you guys don't really need to see more than once. But at this point, I got the cage key. If you notice the souls at the bottom, I had farmed up enough to level up again. Now, I wanted to make sure when I faced the boss, since I wasn't sure of the boss, if I had died, I didn't want the potential of losing a large amount of souls, at least at this point. I've got a very small amount of souls. I won't be too heartbroken for losing 1 humanity and 300 souls. I'm sorry, but that doesn't take a lot of time to farm back up. And I might as well just kill this guy on the way over, because, you know, if I do beat the boss, then I have a little bit more souls than what I currently have. But it's not major. You know, I kind of took a little bit more damage than I expected to, but I believe I'm going to go to attempt the boss right now anyways. During one of my, when I was trying to farm up the little bit more souls to get that level up, I had actually opened up the cage that I just ran past. Turns out that it's a shortcut back down Sense Fortress, and that makes sense for how long and how difficult Sense Fortress was. This game does reward you getting through and finding these keys and finding these shortcuts. They do open up once you get to a certain point. It does reward you for going through hell and back. You don't have to go through hell typically more than once or twice. This game is cruel and it's difficult, but it's not unrewarding. So like I said, this is me just going to go fight the Iron Golem. Again, I have no idea how he attacks. I have no idea what he's doing. It looks like he's got some sort of air attack if you get too far away from him, but interesting enough, it swings at me, and because of the terrain there, it actually blocked his attack. But basically, like everything bigger than me, I'm going to try to stay behind them. You know, he's got large sweeping attacks, very easy to read. I'm just basically going to keep rolling away from the hand he's attacking with. And interesting enough, I don't know if this was because the Sway Hander has a high amount of stability damage or poise damage, but it seemed that, you know, he got staggered, and for a very long time he didn't do anything, and this confused the fuck out of me. Excuse my language, but, you know, I was almost so confused that I didn't continue to hit him. And, you know, it just made it almost seem like this fight was so much easier than it could have been. Basically, continue to roll right, try to at least, if not behind him, stay next to him. He's got very wide open, like, he doesn't have a shield, he's not very mobile or anything like that. Like, it didn't seem all that difficult to be worth more than, or to take me more than one try. So at this point, I just was exploring to see what that ring was. You know, a pretty cool cutscene. At this point, I literally have no idea what's going on, so I'm wondering why the hell I'm being attacked by these things without being able to defend myself. Turns out they're carrying me away to somewhere else. Off into the sky I go. And very big city. Nice view. Very different sun. Almost seems like it's a completely different area. Which, I guess it really is. It's a different area in the game, but, you know, completely different feel to this area compared to where I just was. Or anywhere I've been at this point. So, apparently I'm in Anor Londo. Cool. But, there was one thing I wanted to do before tackling this new area. And that was actually to go back to the Darkroot Garden. If you notice where I am, this is the bonfire behind the illusionary wall. Right next to the gate with the crest of Artorias. I've already opened it. And, you know, I'm exploring this place at this point. Like, this is a whole new area. You know, I've heard that this can be one of the best places to farm souls. And that's all about I've heard at this point. So I literally have no idea what to expect. And I was debating summoning him, but, you know, he's wearing Havel's set and everything like that. But I figured I'd go about it on my own. And then I noticed this little guy. He looks like a phantom or some kind. Almost like a human, actually, to tell you the truth. He doesn't look like a hollow. He actually looks more human than hollow. So there's this knight here. who ends up killing me, and then there's some sort of caster there that I wasn't even paying attention to. To tell you the truth, I probably should have paid attention to the caster. But I thought I was going to be able to kill the knight before the knight killed me, and I paid for it with my life. You know, doing some editing here, trying not to waste too much time on times that I die. I'm not capturing every single attempt through here, but I'm capturing the ones where I progress. You know, again, trying not to show you guys the same footage over and over again. So, simple enough with the knight, you know, look for his openings, try to get him to miss. That's going to be my general strategy for enemies like this, unless they're significantly quicker than me, because I have the heavier shield, the full shield, or whatever, large shield. My strategy is going to be more block their attack rather than try to parry it. Try to step back and wait for an opening. And just trust the fact that I'm not going to take that a whole lot of damage from attacks. I skipped over there a little bit because I ran around a little bit. I didn't really go directly into fighting this guy. They actually turned out on this attempt, they were actually a little bit farther apart than what they were last time. So this is just me fighting the mage. It looks like he is going to try to use his spells whenever he can. And it turns out there's also a thief that I couldn't see because he's partially invisible. But this is kind of the headache that I was dealing with at this point, was these guys at the beating. So next attempt. Remember, each one of these times that I show me just respawning at the bonfire, I am making promise. I promise you guys I'm not completely wasting your time. So this attempt, I do actually manage to end up killing this mage, I believe. And then, as I go to retrieve my souls, I get backstabbed again by the thief. I'm not very happy with the thief. Again, skipping a little bit of time. I was very careful at this point to try to retrieve my souls with every single attempt. And at this point, I was very, very careful to make sure that I had retrieved everything. In this attempt, again, killing the mage. Simple enough, you know, do a leap strike between his attacks. I don't particularly have a shield that's very good against blocking magic damage. Or spell damage, I guess you could say. So I'm trying to avoid them more than I am trying to block them. And at this point, I've never gotten to this point where I know where to find the thief, so I'm just looking for the thief, you know. He's appeared to be pretty hard to find. So I'm just being very careful. And there, sure enough, there he is. As with all thieves, he's going to be faster than me, so I would rather be slightly aggressive when I can, as to when I know he's not going to be able to dodge, either because he's attacking or because he's just not moving. And as with all thieves, he's got the blood loss attached to his weapons. Which basically causes like half of my health or whatever when that bar fills up to just drop. It's killed me in the past, I'll put it that way. I'm not sure of any other enemies that are going to be through this area, so I'm just being a little bit cautious. And then there's this guy over here that ends up running towards me. I notice he's wearing the spider shield, and he's also wearing the brigadier set, I believe it is. And he's wielding a two-handed axe. Or maybe, I think there's a great axe or battle axe or something. Interesting enough, though, is I'm fighting both of these guys at once. So I do what I can. I notice he goes down to use a flask, but his use of the flask actually heals the brigadier, if the brigadier is standing close enough to him. So I'm just trying to burn down the brigadier before he can heal him again, which I end up doing. And then this monk guy, or paladin, or cleric, or I guess cleric could be the closest way to call him at this point. You know, just take down the cleric alone. At this point, I believe, since I had died between attempts, I had lost a number of souls, which is why I only have 7,000.
Is it not so?
I'm not sure at this point. I can't quite remember.
Thou fared well to find her. But cometh thee not for the grave of Sir Artor.
And at this point, I have no idea what this cat is. I have no idea what's going on here.
The legend of Artor sought none but a
Apparently, here is a
traversing the dark. 'Tis but a fairy
what do you call it?
tale. Have thine own respect. Go not yonder knocking for nothing, I say.
Convent, I believe it's called. And you know, I was like, "Hey, of course I'm going to go fight him." And then she was like, "No, no, you're a heathen, and I don't want you." So I was like, "Oh, okay." That's awesome. And I was like, "Maybe I can try again." And she was like, "No, not having any of your shit. Go away. Leave my sight. Leave me alone." So I was like, "Oh, fine. I'll go leave you alone. I'll go explore somewhere else. I don't want you anyways." So, like I said, this is the furthest I've ever made it through this area, so I'm just exploring. You never know what's going to be hidden anywhere. Check out underneath the stairs. Check it, just wandering blindly out into the forest. I honestly have no idea where to go at this point. I see the bonfire ahead, and I'm like, where the hell is their bonfire? So I start running off to try to find a bonfire. And I see that glow of a doorway. I'm like, that might be a boss. So I kind of vaguely head in that direction at this point. And I figure, well, if that's a boss of the area, then this area might be a dead end or something like that. To be honest, I believe there's a lot more to this area that I haven't explored. However, I came here for basically one or two purposes. One purpose is to try to attempt to find out where the best farming area was in here, and I didn't really find it on my own. But the main purpose I came here was for this boss that's right next to me. I will likely be returning here to explore the rest of it. However, this area is fairly difficult for where I am. You know, the dying to a lot of different trash mobs that I probably shouldn't be dying to be rather successful in this area. I see this item over here, so I go over and go pick it up. It's a soul. And at this point, I noticed something running in the background. I believe it was here. Yeah, one of these things. Looks like a very similar creature to that thing that was in the window. Actually, they've got a very similar head. However, they're black and not gray like that one in the window was. And you know, I just try to fight them. They're pretty tough. It seems like I really don't want to get hit by them if I can avoid it. Seeing as about one of their attacks is about half my health, so it seems like I need better gear in order to really be completely successful through this area. I heal up at this point. Got a little bit lucky there. It seemed like I didn't take damage from that attack. That would have hurt a lot. I would have had to use probably my last flask at this point. And then a second one shows up. And a third one shows up. And at this point I've just kind of given up and I'm like, I'm going to turtle behind my shield and look for an opening. And just throw whatever damage I can out there to try to focus on the one that's weakest first. And it ran away. And then I just start getting mauled. And apparently it didn't actually run away. However, I actually get eaten. Like, legitimately eaten. I'm like in his mouth and it's swallowing me whole. So at this point I just kind of say, okay, fuck the black creature things, and I go exploring somewhere else. I take a slightly different path, and by slightly different, I mean like I'm still in the general area as to where I was with the Brigadier, and I noticed the knight again. I'm like, you're in a very different area than you were at first, but okay, I'll go with it, you know. I'll beat you down again, for the third time. But what's interesting is I noticed that arrow that whizzed right by me. I'm like, okay, well, the knight must be guarding somebody. Somebody I haven't seen before. So I must actually put the knight down. I'd be like, yo buddy, go to sleep. Good boy. So I use the Tree of Recovered because it doesn't seem like the archer is really moving. And I use Heal. At this point I'm trying to conserve my flasks if I can, because flasks are a little bit more useful in combat than Heal is. Heal can be used as a last resort in combat, I've noticed. However, it takes a significantly longer time for the animation to complete for a much lower reward than the flask. So I prefer to save flasks for combat, simply because, you know, like I just said, higher heal over a less time. I actually didn't expect that person to drop anything. And apparently it was a Black Bow of Ferris, which is pretty interesting. So at this point, I'm running along. My main goal this time was to get down to the boss. However, I ended up doing a little bit more exploring. Again, trying not to explore back to where I was, where I died that time, to the black cats, or feral creatures, or werewolves, or whatever they are. I don't really know what they are. And I noticed these mushrooms. Again, I killed one of them earlier, but it almost looks like they were forming a train. I noticed a couple of them, you know, all moving in the same sort of direction. And then these two are glitched out. But I noticed where they were generally walking to, and as I was looking over there, I noticed there was these two bigger ones with the lake. So I was like, okay, sure, we'll try it out. Throw a fireball, completely whiffed the first time. Throw a fireball the second time. It does 162 damage, which hardly damages it at all. Like, okay. So time to pull this Wayhander. 360 damage, and it did hardly anything to it. I'm going to have to hit this thing like 5 or 6 times in order to actually put it down. So this thing is going to be a pretty tough enemy. I've kind of figured out on my own. You know, it seems like those attacks are fairly slow, so it seems like every other attack too staggers the thing. And it hits me. It manages to land a hit on me, and it does almost my entire health bar. Going a little bit more aggressive there, trying to put it down before it put me down, rather than try to take the time with the flask, because I don't think I would have lived if I had. Gold Pine Resonance would have dropped. I think I was just putting it on my hotbar at this point. Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. I was putting on my hotbar. And then I'm going to take the other one, because I want whatever's in this chest. I mean, these enemies aren't very easy. They gotta be guided to something good, right? And again, it lands a hit on me, and it does almost my entire health bar. And I'm like, oh my god, I really need to heal after that one. It doesn't really have that. It's got almost all its entire health bar at this point. Got a little bit lucky there. I actually managed to time the roll away. And then it throws a second attack, and it seems like I do have, if I'm not dumb, completely dumb with managing my stamina bar, I can roll away from his attacks fairly easily. Again, putting the second mushroom down. These guys are worth a hefty amount of souls, 1,000 apiece. And then I run over to the chest. Enchanted Ember. I don't really know what that gets me, but it obviously gets you more stuff with the blacksmith than what you had before. So now my main goal is to get over to that doorway, because the doorway probably means boss. And coming over here, I can see the little bridge. Looking for a way down, I decide, it doesn't seem that big of a drop, so I just kind of jump down. And crossing over the bridge. Apparently holding my hand out is the magic password, and I was just kind of like, open sesame, and the door just kind of opens itself. So interesting here, I noticed a bunch of gravestones immediately, and then you obviously have that big tome in front of me. I'm guessing since the Crest of Artorias is the thing that opened it up here, this must be the Tomb of Artorias. the thing that that creature in the window didn't want me to go find. It's all I know is that's a pretty big ass sword. Like, I've got this Wayhander. I thought this Wayhander was pretty big, and that thing is much bigger than I am. And then there's a wolf. And the wolf apparently wants to fight. With a sword. Now, mind you, I'm going to show you my attempts at this boss. Just as a general note, this boss took me upwards of 10 to 15 tries. I don't remember exactly how much, but I kid you not when I tell you that I threw away about, between this entire episode, the specific episode, not including the last one where I was in Sense Fortress, the lower part of Sense Fortress, just the upper part of Sense Fortress to here, I literally threw an hour and a half of footage away just because of the enemies that lead up to this boss, in this boss specifically. I don't know if it was just because I'm like lower than where I should be at this point, or whether I just didn't know how to fight this boss, or at least not appropriately for what gear I have, what the moveset I have. Maybe I just need a different weapon that's a little bit quicker to fight him because of how mobile he is. But no, I toughed it out at the end. And kind of went from here. Unfortunately, between attempts at one point, I end up losing the souls that I have. It's literally exactly what I just said. It's unfortunate. It's not the end of the world. It's unfortunate. At one point, I noticed that since my recordings were getting a little bit long, I ended up turning off the recording, and then when I entered the boss fight, I didn't turn it on right away, but I did catch it partway through. So basically, my attempts are going to be here is try to block his attacks that I can block. The only attack in his moveset I really can't block is the one where he actually spins around and does 2 circles. Basically, the reason I'm trying to block them rather than dodge them is because if I block them, it gives me a small opening where I can actually land attacks. If you see, I'm actually trying to land the heavy attack, the over shoulder swing, during that opening. And that's because I can't really land many attacks, so I'm going for the most powerful attack I can in the small frame that I have. And the reason I'm not going completely aggressive against him is because I haven't completely found out exactly where I need to be for different zones to trigger different attacks. And if he does that attack, I can block the first one or the second one. I cannot block both in a row. The second one will kill me. So if you notice, I tend to back off when he does this swing and just not block any of them at all. I do have my shield out just in case I don't move fast enough, so I can block the first one if need be. But like I said, that double spin is the thing that has killed me the most out of all his entire moves, and is incredibly frustrating to deal with. Especially when he does it multiple times in a row, because if for whatever reason I end up blocking both attacks, it will stagger me, and then the fact that he throws out a second one right afterwards will kill me because I haven't recovered enough to block even one of the attacks. So if the first circle won't kill me, then the second one will. It will finish me off. But this attempt, I do actually manage to defeat the boss, so I will let you guys finish watching me defeat the boss while I do my little wrap up. So remember to give me a like, give me a subscribe. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Try to share it if you can. I do appreciate the the praise. Let me know what you guys think. So make a comment. Give me some tips, give me some tricks. If these bosses or any of the enemies I reached that I struggled with, if you've got any suggestions for future times, because I do probably plan on eventually playing New Game Plus, which is if you beat the game, you can keep all your gear and continue on from there. So let me know any tips, tricks, or any piece of advice. But until then, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.